everyone. I'm Neha Bhutcher, CEO of Atom11, ad automation software for Amazon brands and agencies. Welcome to yet another episode of AdVantage with Atom11. This is where we talk about all things Amazon. Today's episode is special for a different kind of reason. It's going to be a masterclass, not just for you, but also for me. The topic that we have selected for today is Amazon Marketing Cloud. And let's say that I understand as much as about it as you do. So, literally, we are all starting from zero and we are going to try to understand this concept of Amazon Marketing Cloud from literally point zero, like as if we were going back to nursery. Without further ado, I'm actually not going to be spending time on any of the other things today. No section one of updates with Atom11 and no introductions. Today is special for another reason, actually, which I'm going to mention as soon as we get our guests on. So let's have him. Hi, Dustin.
Hey Neha, good to be back again. Thank you for having me
Yes.
on.
Dustin, you are the first person to be actually back on the series the second time. So yeah, the first
Hey,
person here. Congratulations. I'm very,
thank
very
you.
happy. Awesome. So, Dustin, very, very quickly, I'm going to tell you that I'm a perfect newbie when it comes to Amazon Marketing Cloud, and we are going to talk a lot of, details about what Amazon Marketing Cloud it is. But before that, let's just hear a little bit about you. So I know everyone knows here that Dustin is the lead software engineer and product manager at Better Media. But let's hear a little bit more about Dustin from the man himself.
Yeah, so last time I talked about how I got into the space several years ago and started as a brand manager, um, launching brands and then getting more into the advertising side of things and writing software. But um, one thing that I didn't really go into that much detail on last time was some of the brands that I had started before. So we were building in rustic home decor here in house, manufacturing everything. That was always a big point that I wanted to stress. And miniature dollhouse items, that's the brand that we still have going now. So right now we make miniature cinder blocks and red bricks, miniature pallets. Very small. I don't have any on my desk here, unfortunately, but they're a real hit. So people really do love those. But the manufacturing end of thing is what I always stressed because I always wanted a product that was kind of China proof. That if you went on to, Helium 10 or Jungle Scout and you were trying to find products to sell, if you went to Alibaba, you wouldn't find mine. And it would be very
Mhm.
difficult to manufacture it. So that was always a moat that I tried to build around my products so the copycats didn't come in and then have the inevitable race to the bottom.
And maybe, the third time you come in, you can actually show us the product.
I will absolutely do that. And maybe we could even do some kind of a fun giveaway because everybody that sees them, they really love them.
Awesome. Love it. Perfect. So that's great. Hey, so creating something, manufactured in America, and that's the kind of brand that you're building. Love it. I think one of the things that I'm seeing a lot these days is how, made in USA, those little like stamps are really really helping in CTRs and CVRs, actually conversions, when you put it on right on the main image. I hope you've done that for all of your products.
Yeah, it does seem to be with a certain demographic on Amazon where they do feel more patriotic in their purchasing decisions. But for me, it was really just about building the moat. And when I say we do this in house, I mean literally, we do this like at my house. Like my employees actually come here to my residence with a building that we have, and we actually manufacture the stuff here.
Oh wow, like you is it hand manufactured or is it like machine?
No, it's all
No.
hand manufactured. All of the products we had to design all of the models to pour all of the molds in. Had to hire 3D printers to have everything built. At one point, I had a studio where I built a lot of the prototypes, but right now employees handle it all. They come here. My driveway is usually pretty packed with cars, so we've got to figure that out here soon. My wife is going a little crazy with it, but
I'm
yeah,
sure.
it's been great. So
Wow, I love it. That's amazing. Well, I hope all the success to your brand, and yeah, hope to see
thank you.
the products next time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So, Dustin, today's episode, I know I requested you the last time we met that I don't understand anything about Amazon Marketing Cloud. And, as a software company myself, I am going to very quickly start learning about this topic because, we're going to be launching an Amazon Marketing Cloud. Um, a portal once I understand it like the back of my hand. But this is going to be my first masterclass. So are you ready to teach me and all of our audience about Amazon Marketing Cloud?
I will absolutely give it my best. But the fun thing about Amazon Marketing Cloud is so many in the space have only heard of it. And the few people that have been using it, because it's only been around for such a short period of time, I feel like we're all kind of beginners in this to an extent. This isn't
Yeah.
like, your typical launching campaigns and match types and bid ops and whatnot. So I definitely have experience with it. We're using it at BTR, but by no means am I an expert in the space on it. But I will definitely speak to the best of my knowledge to help your audience understand more about it.
Yeah, and I think the first time when you hear about something, or the first time when you're learning about something, you want it to like really just simplify stuff down to a level where you're not afraid to ask questions. And so I think for me it's more like, okay, let's just understand what it is, and then we take it from there. So let's just take one small step today, and then one day, so we know, right, there is Srinath Reddy who knows all about the space. So maybe we'll have a 3-4 people panel sometime on Amazon Marketing Cloud here
Yeah.
at AdVantage with Atom11, and probably do much more detailed conversation. But I think today is all about just basics.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's get started. Cool. So, of course, the first question is, like you said, everyone is talking about it. Everyone's at least heard about Amazon Marketing Cloud at least once. For people who don't know anything about Amazon Marketing Cloud, how do you define it? What is it exactly?
So, from the very high level, I would say it's a place where you can go and get Amazon insights to see pictures of your funnel from top to bottom in a way that you can't get them anywhere else. There's no reports that provide this. From a deeper level, I would describe it more technically as it's an Amazon clean room that Amazon oversees themselves. And traditionally, in a clean room, what that means is it's an area where I, as an advertiser, can go and see pseudonymized, randomized data for myself and others that are advertising. And because it's randomized, it's got a hashed string over all of the private data that you wouldn't want to share, then that means I can gain insights about the marketplace, the category, etc., without exposing anything important. So it helps us all mutually, and Amazon would be the one to oversee that. In this case, I don't look at it quite like that as much as I look at it as details on specific users and the actions they take that is randomized that we can then build queries for to gain more insightful and actionable information on how we want to approach advertising, especially at the top of the funnel more strategically.
So, if I were to rephrase it, basically, there is all of the data that a customer has in one way or the other. Basically, interacted with my ads or with my products in a way. All of that data, how did they interact with my product? What did they do when they interact what did they do when they interacted with my product or my ad? Then what was the complete funnel? All of that data is now randomized, basically just hiding all the actual customer information, and then put it in one place so that I can now query that data and use it the way I want.
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation. And I think as we go through the podcast, we'll probably get into more specifics that will make it more insightful. But I think that your explanation is good.
Fair enough. So now the second question is that I actually, when we speak to customers, both sellers as well as agencies who are either already using Atom 11 or they're looking to onboard. One of the questions that they ask is, do you guys do DSP?
Mhm.
Do you guys do AMC? I want to just first clarify, what is the difference between the two and how are the two related?
So DSP is the demand side platform for Amazon. It is a part of Amazon's advertising where you can programmatically build out advertising. The advantage being different placements both on Amazon, but also a lot of placements within Amazon's owned and operated entities. So if you are on, and not even their owned and operated, but if you're on, like, say, weather.com and you see the ads showing up on the top or the side, those are typically DSP ad. That's how you get those kind of placements, along with any of the products that Amazon owns, like Twitch,
Yeah.
Fire TV, etc. So that would be DSP. We have some people on the team who manage DSP exclusively, so that's an area where I haven't specifically gotten into the, like, in the ad console type of advertising on, but strategically I understand the point of it. The AMC end of things is entirely a data driven insights providing, um, going there to get actionable decisions on how you want to build out your DSP, how you want to target specific audiences with DSP, but also how you integrate that into your typical PPC advertising on the platform.
Got it. So again, just for my understanding, and let me know if I've understood it correctly, AMC is the insights platform only. It will only give you insights, analytics. DSP is the actual ads, which is just like we have performance ads, we have DSP ads as a different type of advertising. DSP ads not only show on Amazon, they also show off Amazon. And just one more question. So when DSP ads are shown, are they just native ads like we have on sponsored products, or they can be anything, like, or they can be custom images or videos or just anything?
So with DSP, you can use both types of creatives, either static images or videos. It's similar to sponsor brands, but with a lot more flexibility to it, not only in the creatives, but also in the audiences that you target. You get a lot more options than, say, building out a sponsor display ad.
Got it. Cool. So then from this point onwards, I just wanted to understand a little the difference between AMC and DSP. But from this point onwards, we'll just kind of focus on the AMC bit. We'll
Sure.
probably do a masterclass again on DSP later. Cool. So now, like I said, a lot of people sometimes ask about AMC, right? What is a good framework to know who should use AMC and who should not?
Mhm.
So just, before even understanding that, now that we know what it is, and before getting into more details of what is there in AMC and how to use it, we want to first understand who should use it, and then take it from there. And who should not use it, actually, more importantly, who should not use it.
Sure. So the first question to ask to the person who wants to use it is, do I qualify to use it? So at this point in time,
Okay.
AMC, you have to either be running DSP campaigns, or I believe you have to have it planned for them to be set up in at some point in the near future. I don't know the number of days. So if you meet that first check, then the second question to ask is, do I have someone on my team that can actually build out the insights? Because with AMC, you have to build SQL queries. So when you go into what looks like the ad console and you click on the AMC instance, when you have your drop down and you're picking all of your accounts, you can pick the AMC one. You go there and it's basically just a SQL editor where you type in the SQL queries. They give you queries that you can
Use
use as
on there.
kind of templates to start off and then customize those as you see fit. But I would say you need to have someone, you need to be running DSP, you need to have someone on the team who can actually write the queries. And then you have to ask yourself if it's going to benefit you. And the way I would describe this with AMC specifically is, do you have a lot of upper funnel strategy going on? Do you have multi touch points going on in your path to purchase? If your brand is heavily ACOS or taco centric and you're only focused on profitability and you're really only focusing on bottom of the funnel, then I would say AMC is probably not going to give you a lot of insights at this point. The caveat that I would offer to that is, it looks like they just launched, and I haven't had time to experiment with this, but a new API endpoint called traffic signals. And it appears that that is an AMC. It's almost like a clean room type for sponsored ads only from the ads
Oh,
API that doesn't require the AMC instance. Again, I haven't had time to experiment with this, but if anybody in the audience sees this and they aren't necessarily running what I just explained, but they would still like the insights for sponsored products, brands, and display, that might be something to explore.
So, what I'm understanding is AMC is for people who are one, running DSP, two, running a lot more upper funnel ads with multiple touch points, and three, if they should have someone either through an agency or in-house, they should have someone who can actually run SQL queries. Now, when you say multiple touch points, does it mean that multiple touch points like SP, SB, SD, and DSP? Or when you say multiple touch points, it also means like Google ads and stuff. So just wanted to understand, what is this multiple touch points?
So you actually can upload your first party data into AMC and actually gain insights from that. But what I mean is more like if the extent of your advertising is essentially what your sponsored product search term report provides you, as far as like a handful of long tails and your basic seed keywords and your branded ones, or you're not really trying to invest in building the brand in an upper funnel awareness kind of strategic play, then it may not be as beneficial, because when you get into doing that, that's when we see that there are a lot more intentional strategic touch points going from awareness, truly awareness, where they're not in the aisle, and eventually getting them in the category, then exploring the category to end up doing branded searches on your brand to eventually make the purchase.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that's interesting. And the last point that you mentioned was that AMC is now trying to come up with smaller or more simpler features like the traffic signals, which can be used by brands or agencies or sellers who are only doing sponsored products and sponsored brands, right? Like not doing DSP.
I haven't had the opportunity to explore it, because I believe it's only reserved for UK advertisers, which is odd because
Okay.
usually the US marketplace is the first. If you do need DSP campaigns to use it, I do know that you don't need the AMC instance set up. So
Okay.
that still is a moat around AMC that is removed if you are able to utilize this. So if you have more of a bottom funnel focus, but you're running DSP strictly for retargeting and you're not having a big budget on it, you might not
Got
have
it.
all those multiple touch points, but the traffic signals still might be able to give you the insights that will be helpful for what you do have.
Got it. Got it. That's interesting. And just for a repetition, so the multiple touch points that we are referring to here is basically the funnel of the targeting that you are doing, right? The way of targeting. So branded, generic, competition, so on and so forth.
Yes, and especially when you get into doing more upper funnel with trying to run awareness where people literally haven't heard of your product and not even in the aisle yet.
Got it. Okay, got it. Interesting. Now, now that we know who should be using it, and we also know what this is, the third question is: let's say I am an advertiser and I am, interested in running DSP in the next 1 week, right? Um, what will I do first? Like what are the first two or three things that I will do if I get access to this clean room of Amazon Marketing Stream that you're Amazon Marketing Cloud that you're talking about?
The first thing that you would do, I would recommend just going to the documentation and looking at the many built out template queries that they have. With the help of ChatGPT, you can just take the query, put it into ChatGPT, say, explain this to me. Amazon has commented out sections of the query that you have to insert your custom data into, like all of the campaign names or all of the ASINs that you want to run the query on. And so I would recommend experimenting with those and just getting an idea of how the whole feel of the platform works.
Okay. I think the first thing that that someone should do is look at this video, and then second go to the documentation.
Yes. Yeah, look at this.
Awesome.
There's a handful of other really great videos in the space who can speak in a different way to how I am with this, maybe with more of a strategic awareness kind of play. But I'm trying to keep the focus more on the people that I think would be relevant to this in your audience, who may not be running really heavy strategy at the top of the funnel, but maybe more focused on the sponsored ads side of things.
Got it. Absolutely. So yes, so the first thing that they do is look at documentation, and then basically probably there might be a few queries that Amazon wants everyone to run. right? Probably just look at those queries first, put them in ChatGPT, and then put their data inside wherever they have commented.
Hmm.
Um, Now, the next question, obvious one that comes to my mind is, okay, so I'm assuming Amazon does have some templates they want you to use in the very beginning, right? When you're just getting started with AMC. What are the first two, three queries, or what are the most important queries that a brand or an agency can use when they start working with Amazon Marketing Cloud?
Sure. So, I mean, I can give you some examples, some use cases of what I've done with accounts at BTR. So, for instance, one of
Okay.
them is changing the attribution model. So, within AMC, you can change the attribution from, say, last click attribution of sales to first click attribution of sales. So, one of the flaws that we deal with as advertisers is what ad gets all of the sales, which will heavily impact the ACOS of the target and the
Yes.
campaigns.
Hmm.
So when you're running more of an upper funnel strategy or any kind of DSP, imagine that everybody's clicking on this DSP ad. They find that your product exists. They go shopping for it in the category, and then they eventually do some branded searches and buy your product. That DSP campaign is going to be attributed hardly any sales ever.
Exactly. Hmm.
Another query that we can run is the path to purchase. So if we look at all of the different paths that someone took to go from the first ad that they clicked on to the last one, we can see all of the different, pathways that they took to eventually make that purchase. If we look at first click attribution, first touch attribution, we say, wow, this DSP campaign initially, because it never gets attributed any sales, it actually looks like it really got poor performance. When we would look at all the paths to purchase, it turns out this DSP campaign that looked like it was doing poorly is actually one of the main entry points for several paths to purchase. So it not only makes sense not to cut off its budget or drop its CPM, but actually it might make sense to increase it, because when we look at it from a first click attribution method, it's got a really good ROAS. Whereas if you didn't have AMC, you wouldn't be able to do that. Overarching point that I'm trying to get to here is if you're running a strategy that has multiple touch points and you're using the top of the funnel, as things exist right now, there's no really solid way to look at your actual top of funnel performance. Because if the top of the funnel is not
Yeah.
what drives them to the purchase, there are other things that take place between the first click and the purchase. You're never going to really understand the true performance of what's going on at the top
Yeah.
of the funnel. And so that's what
But
AMC unlocks.
yeah, I'm sorry I cut you off. I have a question. Now, let's like let's say you get. Actually, first the question is, uh, you get AMC data for every impression, or you get it for every click.
So I'll give an example that answers that by a really simple um, kind of illustration. So imagine that you have an Excel file, and the first column is every user's ID. It's randomized, pseudonymized, so you can't actually tell what their user ID is. But obviously, Amazon retains all of this information.
Yeah.
So if you had this spreadsheet you could download, you would have every user's action every time they had an impression, a click, they visited a product detail page, they did a subscribe and save, did an add to cart, everything.
Yeah.
And so you build these queries off of when you build a query in AMC, you can't have the query show you the actual user IDs in the final download that you make. But imagine that you have this Excel file with all these actions that someone takes, and you could create like a pivot table. So you could say, okay,
Mhm.
give me all of the users that purchased one of these ASINs but didn't do a subscribe and save.
Hmm.
And then you group it together almost in like a pivot table, and you can say, okay, here's the list of users. I can actually push that to my DSP account, create an order and a line item for that, and then target that audience specifically.
Wow, that is powerful because now all those things that people talk about on brand tailored program and say give me a push a coupon to people who have looked at my product and did not purchase it,
Hmm.
I think you can get more granular one with DSP, and then second, instead of giving a coupon, you advertise more so that you can actually get the person or the customer at full price, and then just drive loyalty through that. I think it's a beautiful example. So basically, DSP for long term and brand tailored promotion for a short term and more automated kind of a action item. That's great.
Hmm.
Okay, so the two things that you've mentioned so far is one, change in attribution, and the second one, path to purchase. I understood that path to purchase is like a one single line item for every single user who has seen your ad at least once. And so now you can create pivot tables. The next question is, in this Excel file, one of the examples you gave was people who have purchased my product but did not subscribe and save. What other kind of data can be derived from this specific Excel file? Is there a document that we can add to this video that people can download and look at? Okay, these are the kind of data that I can get access to if I have Amazon Marketing Cloud.
Sure. So, just like in the last episode, I had mentioned that I had that resource in my LinkedIn profile. I do also have an AMC one that breaks down all the documentation and all the standard queries, and it kind of explains them in a little bit clearer of a method. But the way I would look at it, as far as AMC, is you have two different um, results that you can get. One is actionable insights. So that's your path to purchase. That's changing the attribution. That's overlap reports that we can generate. And the other one that I had mentioned, you don't really generate a report for. So that example with somebody who purchased these ASINs but didn't do a subscribe and save. That, because it has the actual user IDs exposed in it, you are trying to build an audience based on that. And that directly, because your AMC instance is connected to your DSP account, you're building a query that gives you all of the user IDs for a specific audience, and you push that directly to DSP. You never actually get an Excel file for that.
Fair enough.
What you would get Excel files for is, like, another example is the overlap report, where you could say, what are my total sales? You have your user IDs, all the actions. You build the query saying, okay, what are my total sales, doing this pivot table of people who only saw an SD campaign, only saw an SP campaign, or saw both types of campaigns. What does my performance look like across all three of those? And in that, you would have an Excel file, and it would just have 3 rows in it ultimately, and it would just break those down with the 3 rows and all the performance metrics that you specified in the query.
Wow, this sounds like every question that Amazon used to answer with, "Hey, that is proprietary data." But I think
Mhm.
Amazon is just giving that out. Fair enough. Now you've talked about audience building quite a few times until now. I think two times, 2 to 3 times already. What is audience building, and how can I do that using Amazon Marketing Cloud? I think you gave a little bit of a teaser in your last statement, but I wanted to just get into a little bit more detail.
Sure. So the audience building is where you would build a query that gives you a group of user IDs or customers, potential customers, that have undertaken certain actions, meet certain criteria that you want to build a DSP campaign for, so you can retarget them. So it might be someone who, if you know your gateway ASINs, or if you know your most common upsell ASINs, you could say, okay, what are the customers who have purchased one of my gateway ASINs in the past 30 days? Or give me a list of clients or customers who have purchased this ASIN twice but haven't done a subscribe and save. The list is really infinite, and it's just how creative you can be in strategically building these out. The caveat being that I believe it's 2,000 users have to be in
Okay,
the query.
got it.
Otherwise, it basically won't push it as a new DSP campaign. It needs at least that many to. So you would originally run a query that basically says how many users are in this segment that you built out. And if it's less than 2,000, you either
Got
need
it.
to broaden your search, or it's just not going to work.
Fair enough, and I think that's fair. And I think 2,000 is a pretty low number for the size of brands that are already doing DSP or using AMC. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Got it. That's a pretty good introduction to what audience building is. So I'm assuming it's a I don't know, I mean, what I understand is that um, SQL queries that you build using AMC data that you push to your DSP campaign. So this is audience building is basically that bridge between AMC and DSP.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Now, until now, we have spoken a lot about who can use AMC, how can they get started, what all other kind of data that we get in AMC, and what is the that bridge between AMC and DSP. Now, I want to know that this clean room that AMC is, how do we get that data? So now let's say as a software provider, I need to start getting access to AMC. One, how do I get this data, and what happens behind the scenes when I integrate with Amazon Marketing Cloud?
Sure. So I did go into a little bit of detail already about the user IDs and the, imaginary
Yeah.
spreadsheet and trying to essentially create a pivot table to group things by, but you would do all of that again through the SQL editor, but the other approach that you could take is through the API. So if you wanted to build this on a more automated basis, if you did have a SaaS and you wanted to integrate that, I would recommend going that route. I haven't integrated that yet because I just have a handful of built out queries, and
Okay.
we have individuals that just go in there and run those for us. It's far more scalable at this point to do that rather than to build out through the API. But if you're going to integrate it into Atom 11 and a lot of clients are using it, that is another option.
So basically, so the two options for any software partner, including Atom11, is one, if you want a faster go to market, basically just get access to the queries and start running the queries. But and the data basically is something that I have to pull from Amazon instead of getting the data from API. The second one is do an API integration, and then Amazon directly gives you access to that data, and you use it in whatever way you can. I think it's an easier way, but a slightly longer one. And I think the one that you guys are using at BTR right now, that is the more scalable one. Sorry, the faster GTM one, basically.
Exactly. And then within AMC itself, I would also mention that there are also subscriptions that you can pay for where you get additional data on top of what they provide you for the advertising side. So the most
Yeah.
popular one overwhelmingly is a subscription to get all the organic data. So you can see how this would be incredibly useful to see where you can actually integrate organic sales, organic placement ranking, whatnot into your queries. So you can say, okay, what does my CTR conversion rate look like or whatnot on my organic versus when I run a sponsored products ad versus when I run a sponsored brands ad, etc. You can really get a better idea of if you're starting to cannibalize your sales or not at the top of search. I mean, the list really is infinite. It's how open minded and strategic you can be with it.
Wow. And I think I remember reading a case study some time ago on Amazon Marketing Cloud, and someone was talking about this, that they saw that after three interactions with their ads, people stop. Like if a customer converts within those three interactions, then the customer converts. But after that, no matter how many times you show them an ad, they don't convert. And so basically, they reduce their DSP interactions with those kind of user IDs, or they put a frequency cap on their DSP interactions, saying, I don't want to show this person an ad for more than, let's say, two times, because once they come to Amazon, they will interact with one of my ads invariably. I think that's a pretty good use case of PPC cannibalization, versus what we do. When you're running sponsored products only, then it's a lot of guesswork also, right? That okay, if my organic rank is less than 5, then I most likely am going to convert that customer organically. So I don't want to show them my ad. But this one is a lot more data driven, but it also is it comes at the cost of being more and more upper funnel.
Yeah, exactly. No, the frequency cap query that you had brought up is a fantastic one. The same way that you could say, within a search term that is going through a branded campaign, you say, okay, on average, I'm getting 10 clicks before I get an order, but this search term, I've gotten 25 without an order. It might speak
Yeah.
to some irrelevance and a negative exact on that to block it out. So in AMC, you could build a query, for instance, saying, okay, let me identify all the users that have done a branded search and clicked on a sponsored products ad, but haven't seen a DSP campaign. Or you could just say, I don't want to show them a DSP campaign, because if they're doing branded searches and clicking on sponsored products ad, they're already at the bottom of the funnel. So I want to
Hmm.
prevent them from seeing an awareness campaign from DSP.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Wow, the possibilities are endless. I
They
mean,
are.
it looks like I have a question. Is there even a like I'm just listening to all of these examples, right? And somehow I have, and when I read a lot of case studies just to understand, okay, that's my way of understanding something for the first time. I always go and read a case study. So when I read a case study, um, what I've seen is that most case studies they only talk about these one or two use cases. So frequency cap has been one. Then the I think the first thing that you talked about, right? The path to purchase, like 3 SP, 2 SB, and 1 SD campaign, or 3 DSP. That those kind of things is what I have read the most. One more example that I read was geo targeting. So,
Mm.
for example, a lot of our customers are coming from Central America, and less are coming from New York and the big cities. So we do a lot of geo targeting for our upper funnel, through our DSP. So those are the two basic things that I have read in multiple case studies by now, but haven't really gone out and explored more different, like more types of case studies in here. Is there something that I'm missing, or are these the two, like 90% or 95% of people are using these kind of case studies? Sorry, using these kind of use cases to use AMC.
I really can't speak to what people's most common use cases are. I think that starting with the standard queries, whatever those would be, those are like your initial gateway into AMC. So I would guess it's those, the ones that you mentioned, some of the basic overlap reports like SB only, SD only, those
Yeah,
combined, or sponsored ads, DSP, and then the two of them combined.
yeah,
So for the most part, I think that people could get a lot of insight just from using those. When you get into building custom queries, I've gotten into it, and it does add an exponential amount of difficulty at times. So you do have to weigh out the pros and cons of if it's worth investing all of this time to get this, if it truly is something that's actionable. But the reason that I'm
fair.
focusing personally, taking such a heavy approach to AMC is because, and I think we talked about this in Prosper together, is I feel generally like this is the direction that the industry is going. I
Hmm.
feel like the days where a differentiator with a SaaS or an agency is that you ran bid ops and launched campaigns strictly, is that ship has sailed. I feel like you need something more. You need better bid ops, you need better software, better analytics. Otherwise, you're just doing the exact same thing in a fairly saturated market that
Yeah,
everyone else is doing. And so
absolutely.
to be able to integrate these insights and analytics, especially as AI gets more integrated into the SERP, it becomes more conversational. I think that's going to
Hmm.
be fairly disruptive, and it's going to be interesting to watch how that plays out with the standard advertising methods that we've all grown so used to.
Hmm.
Amazon's obviously not going to get rid of their advertising. It's so lucrative
Yeah.
for them, but how they end up changing it will be very interesting to watch. And I personally just feel that the analytics end of things is going to take a seat front and center.
Absolutely. And I think, this is probably, even for our audience and for me, this is probably going to be one of the many talks that we are going to do on how to use AMC. This is how we also get, started with. This is basically learn in public for us. And I think you're right. Amazon search is changing so much. It's going to be a completely different ball game. I think by, let's say, end of next year, um, and knowing how to use this data, read this data, is going to be so important. And
Mhm.
AMC is right in the forefront when it comes to all of that. Thank you, Dustin. I think this was a very interesting conversation. I think most of the questions that I had, which were preventing me to learn further on AMC, are something that I have answered today, or I have answers to today, thanks to this conversation. And I think you
Good.
made it so simple to understand, plus helping me or enabling me to just rephrase what I learned from you. um, yeah, I think this was a game changer just for me to get to the next step. For all the audience that we have today, if you guys have any questions, please post them, and I'll make sure that if Dustin is not able to read it, I'll make sure that he reads it, and then I'll just send it to him, and that we
Mhm.
have an answer to it. Because this is really AMC 101. Actually, this is probably AMC 100. This is something that you read or learn, listen to before you get into the first step of getting into AMC or DSP. So really helpful. We got to know all the more important terms, the important methods, or the kind of algorithms that you need to use when you're using AMC. And if you are even missing out on the whole AMC bandwagon at this point, I don't know if you are doing that at this point, but I think 1 year down the line, every person is going to be using AMC. And so, just knowing about it today is probably the right thing to do. So, with that, thanking Dustin again. And yeah, Dustin, any parting words about AMC, or anything that you think that can be a very easy or simple giveaway, or a link that I can add to the YouTube video that people can access?
Yeah, I mean, if you reach out to Niha with any questions, if she relays them to me, or just feel free to DM me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there with AMC content. I'm always happy to help in any way. Also, the learning, I think it's the learning console or something like that with Amazon, where you can get the certifications. The
Yeah.
AMC one can be a little bit of a beast if you don't have SQL experience, but I would say push through it because you can gain a lot of insight from that as well.
Fair enough. No, I think we're going to do that, and we have some pretty cool ideas of how to push AMC to our customers without even knowing SQL. So please watch out, and we are going to be making more announcement in future. At this time, we are just learning about AMC and how we can make it easier for people to use. Thank you so much, Dustin. And thank you so much, everyone, for sticking around and listening to this talk. Until next time, happy advertising.